We have a question from Lucas in Madison, who asks, I'm happy to see that you've made jobs as a centerpiece of your campaign. However, you cannot leave out a strong education system. Wisconsin must have a strong education system to compete in the globalized world. How do you propose to reform Wisconsin's education system? Well, this is a great question, obviously a very complex question, but the fact is jobs and education are two issues that are very, very inextricably linked together. And I think the first thing to do is to recognize that as we talk about education, we're talking about both the K-12 system and then the higher education. And the higher education system gets broken down again between the universities in the state, both the 4 years and the 2-year universities, as well as the technical schools. But I think first and foremost, we have to make the commitment, and that means we cannot have drastic cuts in educational financing. And quite frankly, I'm concerned when I look at some of the tax changes proposed by some of the other candidates for this office, that they're going to have to cut education funding by huge amounts. I don't want us to be in that situation. And so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that our educational system has the resources that it needs to allow students not only to complete high school, but to get college educations, technical school education, so that they can get the jobs that allow them to compete in a world economy. The reality is that right now, if you looked at the top 10 jobs that are in demand, probably 6 of those jobs didn't even exist 10 years ago. And that's why our education system has to be so intertwined with our economic development efforts. They're really, really parts of the same puzzle. And I think for us to abandon education at the time when we need it the most would be a mistake. I can honestly say that I cannot think of a time in the history of this state when education is more important than it is today. And the reason I say that is, unfortunately, we simply don't have the jobs that we used to have in this state for people with low educational attainment. They just don't exist. The jobs that are being created are jobs that require something beyond high school. And so it's important for us to make sure that we have the resources there so that we can, again, be competitive in this global economy.